So following up from the other day, I made a video about Hasan Piker, his comments on active member of Congress, former combat veteran, Lieutenant Commander Dan Crenshaw. Well, TYT has done a follow-up. Cenk Uygur, Hasan Piker's uncle, brought Hasan back onto the network to basically explain his comments, give some context for why he said it, and possibly even offer an apology. And I know the other day I said I don't like TYT. Still not saying I do just for this action. There's a lot of other stuff that I've heard come from their videos I'm just really not a fan of. Like I said the other day, every now and then they do something that I like. This is one of those occasions, and I have to commend Cenk Uygur 100%. He did the right thing here. Now I still think he kind of maybe, toned things down a little bit, just accepted his answers at face value, even though there was an utter smugness about this whole thing, just oozing when I'm sitting there watching it from Hasan Piker. I felt like he was doing nothing but saying whatever he thought he needed to say to back the heat off his ass a little bit. But I don't think he really meant it. Just didn't get that impression from him. I think he was just saying what he thought he needed to say to try to get everyone to hush, including his Uncle Cenk. Okay? But that being said, I do think he did the right thing by pressing him on some of these issues. So let's take a look at what TYT and what TYT did and what Cenk Uygur did in the questioning of Hasan Piker about those very offensive comments.
Joining me now is Hasan Piker. He is part of the TYT network. He does Breakdown and now a new show, Agitprop. Hasan, welcome. And listen, you're on because you said some things that a lot of people, including myself, find very offensive. You did not say it on the Young Turks network. You said it on your own Twitch channel. So we're going to take them one at a time and have a conversation about it. In the past, when conservatives have said offensive things, I have said that they should keep their job and we should have a conversation about it. I said it about Megyn Kelly, Don Imus, and Rush Limbaugh. And so here we are. I'm living up to what I said about conservatives and progressives. We're having a conversation. So you said America deserved 9/11. Did you mean that?
No, obviously not, especially considering the fact that while that is a very viral quote that is going around currently, if those people were at least even remotely charitable or cared about the actual truth of what I was talking about, they would understand that within context, I was simply referencing the fact that all of the foreign policy decisions and our arming of insurgent groups in the region and our efforts in destabilizing the Middle East have a direct consequence, a boomerang effect rather, if you will, in causing 9/11. Of course, every part of what I advocate for is against violence. I abhor violence. I think it's awful. And as a matter of fact, I was very frustrated with the fact that Dan Crenshaw, a person who 4 times voted nay on bills that would stop arming Saudi Arabia. He voted no 4 times on those bills. It would turn around and talk about the necessity for endless violence, and that this simply was happening because these people. This simply was happening because these people just hated us. They hated us because they hate us. I'm paraphrasing, but I thought that was awful. I thought that was horrific, and in that moment, I thought at the very least I was saying that you can draw a direct line, basically, that it was a consequence of all of the things that we have done in the region. This is not a controversial thing to say, which is precisely why I followed up by saying, why are you guys getting upset at me? There's a live chat, there's a back and forth conversation on Twitch. For those of you who are unfamiliar, said, why are you getting upset at me? Nothing I'm saying is controversial, implying that I didn't even understand immediately why what I was saying was so outside of the bounds of reason, considering that Hillary Clinton has had a similar and correct opinion on this, talking about how we did fund Al-Qaeda and Noam Chomsky and numerous other academics on both sides of the political spectrum.
So when you're talking about one of the causes of 9/11 being American foreign policy, it's not just Chomsky. Donald Trump has said.
Donald Trump has said that as well.
I understand that. I understand that. But you understand now, and not just now, but you understood fairly soon after you said it, that saying Americans deserve 9/11 is a completely different statement and one that's wrong.
No, I didn't say Americans deserve 9/11. I said America deserves 9/11.
Right, but that's
and
still
in that
wrong.
Moment, well, maybe you can chalk it up to English being my second language or whatever you want to chalk it up to. Obviously, if I followed that statement up immediately with, well, we're still continuing to fund the nation state responsible for this, and we act like they are our greatest allies, when that kind of arms sale
I understand
like
the overall policy point you're making, Hasan, but saying it that way is clearly wrong.
Yes,
because it leads people to the impression that you.
I should have used more precise and better use of the language there.
So now let's turn to the comments you made about Dan Crenshaw.
Yes.
So you I guess in an attempt at satire, made very crass comments about the eye that he lost in Afghanistan. So first of all, at least everyone is assuming it's satire, including Dan Crenshaw. I'll quote him in a second. Was it satire?
Yeah, I don't think that the Mujahideen are actually brave. That was simply a reference to John Rambo 3, first and foremost, very famous reference to John Rambo 3 that featured, this movie is dedicated to the brave Mujahideen soldiers of Afghanistan. And on top of that, it was a reference to the fact that Ronald Reagan also considered them to be brave when he was arming them. When he escalated the arms that were, when he increased the amount of funding and training and arms and Stinger missiles that we were giving to these groups that then branched off and became the Taliban and became Al-Qaeda. So my point was, hey, we're doing the exact same things that we have done in the past over and over again. At what point will we go, you know what? Maybe we should stop meddling in the Middle Eastern affairs. Maybe we should stop funding insurgency groups that we consider to be allies to ourselves, and then get surprised when they turn around and use those weapons against us.
Okay,
I'm all about stopping the bloodshed.
So I understand that, and I agree with that point. Unfortunately, I think that what you said was horribly counterproductive on us. Now, Dan Crenshaw, I actually thought was actually took it really well. He went on Laura Ingram's program today and had a lot of things to say about Hasan and the Young Turks that I don't necessarily agree with, but he has acknowledged throughout that of course it was satire. Here's his tweet. He said, Hasan seems to confuse improvised explosive device with some weird terrorist fantasy. And of course he lost his eye in an IED explosion. And he says, LOL, sorry for triggering you, Hasan. You're no Pete Davidson, stop trying so hard. He repeated that on the Laura Ingraham program today as well. And look, I think that I disagree with Dan Crenshaw's policies, but in regards to an incredibly crass and offensive joke you made, he's handled it like a champ.
I agree. I think he took it like a champ. I would not have expected that, considering, like I said, the overwhelming amount of commentary that I've received so far on the issue is just very public displays of trying to kill me and fantasizing about murdering me or whatever, which is fine. It's a part of the job. I understand. Having said that, however, I have to make one note. Okay, service does not guarantee respect. It should not. I'm sorry. This is the exact same kind of this is the exact same kind of sentiment that leads to the militant attitude that the United States has. If you have served, and then on top of that, are using that service to continue sending like loads of young men and women overseas to die or to come back home and fail to reintegrate into society just exclusively for the profits of the military-industrial complex, then no, you don't deserve respect by virtue of service. I'm sorry.
Well, Haas, there's a giant difference, right? So I don't agree with John McCain's, when he was alive, his warmongering, right? His policies were terrible, but I do respect that he stayed in that prisoner of war camp, and when they said you can go because you're the son of an admiral, but he stayed with his fellow soldiers.
We've had very public disagreements on the way I've talked about John McCain as well.
Yeah, and so saying I disagree with Dan Crenshaw's policy is one thing, making that incredibly crass joke. I mean, how do you not see that it's counterproductive? Did you think that Americans would say, oh my God, that joke is so funny? Or Like, can you not see how most Americans would say this horrible thing about his eye injury would be offensive, and then stop listening to you?
If I considered what the popular thing to say was going to be every time I said something, I probably wouldn't be advocating for the things I believe in. The final note I will say is this, okay? I would rather be uncivil and advocate for the morally righteous cause, which is anti-war and anti-imperialism, bringing our troops back home, ending the unjustifiable and unnecessary bloodshed, than be incredibly polite and incredibly civil and talk about ongoing genocide and refuse to acknowledge it, and even worse than that, vote in favor of the government, in favor of the country that is continuing that genocide with our weapons.
Okay, so watching that, yeah, definitely props to Jink, and I give you much credit, sir. I was pretty harsh on you guys and Kyle Kalinske for trying to make an excuse for him with the whole joke issue. But I give you more credit than Kyle, and I watch Kyle a lot more than I do TYT. With Kyle, I think just pretty much downplayed it to, oh, it's just a joke, don't be so upset. You at least said, yeah, you tried to do a joke, but it was a very poor and distasteful joke, and did not get received well at all. So I give you credit for pointing all that out, without a doubt. Okay, but examining Hasan's response to a lot of these questions that Jink asked does nothing but reiterate what I was saying the other day about this guy. He's got a cockiness and an arrogance about him that just oozes from his personality. And I don't like him. To me, he strikes me as that little entitled, what do you want to call him, millennial from this generation. He's got the nice little look, he's got the nice little beard, he's got the buffed up body and crap. Because you see pictures of him online, he's sitting there doing all these little poses thinking he's some hot, real hot stuff. And I'm sure the way he's built, the way he looks, there's a lot of women who do love him. But he's just got that personality like, yeah, I'm this, I'm that, and I know it. I'm going to say whatever I want. I'm going to do whatever I want. And you're just going to have to accept it. He just got that whole attitude about him. And, I really, really don't like when I judge someone without ever knowing them, but there are just certain people. I could be completely wrong about them when I get to meet them. They could be completely different than what I'm expecting, but he just has that attitude that really, to quote a Family Guy line here, really grinds my gears. Watching him, it's like oil and water, man. Honestly, the cockiness just gets underneath my skin. I don't like someone who's that arrogant and that cocky and is that much of a know-it-all. And that's exactly what he acts like. And to take it one step farther, now of course he's trying to explain that what he means by America deserved 9/11 is that our foreign policy had a direct link to 9/11 and more or less caused it by arming the Mujahideen. Now, will you get any argument from me on that subject? No. We armed the Mujahideen that turned into Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. No question about it. We did it to try to fight the Russians. It was a very dumb decision. But it's been part of our mindless funding the military-industrial complex, to fight some country or another, and part of our long-lasting war with the Russians. We've been harping about issues with the Russians for a long time, and that was just part of a previous era where we were fighting the Russians. Because the Russians were in the Middle East, we were fighting the Russians on everything under the sun, so we armed the rebels to fight the Russians. Of course, they then turned on us after it was all said and done. So, hey, there you go. But let's get into some other things that he went out and said. About the whole. First off, he said if anyone had any kind of how did he put it? Like if they were halfway charitable or have some compassion or whatever. Like, really, man, you're going to go out and make comments that you made, and you're going to expect compassion. Compassion. See, I put those comments right on up there with Alex Jones and Sandy Hook, dude. Did anyone from TYT, anyone from TYT, give Alex Jones compassion when he made those statements? If you did, I want to see the clip, because TYT and Alex Jones are infamous enemies of each other. Okay? So, you expect compassion, but yet you wouldn't give it to someone else in an instance where they made offensive comments that you found offensive. Of course, you don't really find all this stuff as offensive, Hasan, because it came out of your little spoiled, entitled mouth. Tell the truth. We know that's how you feel. You basically flat out said, I'd rather say what I want to say, even if it's offensive, and stand for my moral cause. Okay? I mean, seriously, dude, that's basically what you are. You have some serious immature videos out there. You're not standing for a moral, righteous cause. I may hear some things you say and have some agreements with you, but you have such a hypocritical standard on what you're expecting from this scenario and what you've given to other people in similar scenarios. And I think it's probably just part of that whole entitled, spoiled, modern generation mentality that I've been seeing from you, the cockiness I'm seeing oozing from you, the arrogance I've seen oozing from you in your attitudes, in your demeanors, which is this modern style of thinking that you're entitled to the outcome that you want. That's just not how the world works. Okay? So that didn't go well right there. But I applaud Jink for asking the question and calling him out on it. Then let's move forward to the next little topic that he got into. I mean, of course, then he immediately jumps to, he was telling people on the Twitch stream, why are you guys getting so mad? I'm not saying anything that's offensive. There's nothing I'm saying that's offensive at all. What that shows me, just personally, my friend, what that shows me is you're very, very, very self-absorbed. As if I didn't already suspect that to start with, watching your whole kind of demeanor and your attitude. I mean, you most certainly struck me as a very self-absorbed person. That more or less sets it all in for me. And to me, that just comes across as a narcissist. And the reason that I say that is because you literally are so self-absorbed in yourself, you could say some horrendous crap that would offend a lot of people and just have no concept or understanding of the fact that you did something wrong and that it offends other people. You say it and then people have a, why are you mad at me? I didn't do anything wrong. That's a narcissist. Narcissistic people never do anything wrong. Narcissistic people are always right. Everyone else is wrong. Now, to be fair, you took the video down, so I don't think you're like a full-blown head-over-heels narcissist. I still think, just from my observations of you, sir, it still comes across like you're narcissistic. But obviously, you at least have enough wherewithal to understand when you kind of need to back down. You then jump to the fact that you took the video down as evidence. Oh, I understand I made a boo-boo, so I tried to make it better. Except, really? By watching your attitude from this video, it seems to me more like you just took the video down because you realized, oh, I might have really screwed up here. This could really come back to bite me in my butt. I could lose my job at TYT because there's going to be such hard blowback from this. Maybe I better take this down and try to save face real quick. That's what it seems like, more or less, to me. Completely. And again, credit to Cenk Uygur. He then went at him and said, okay, but did you not understand that when you said Americans deserve it? And he chimed right in. And to his credit, I never, at least I don't think I used the term Americans in the last video. He said America deserved 9/11. He jumped right into immediately make that point. Oh, so the America deserved 9/11, not the Americans. Okay, and then Cenk just said, well, still, it's just as bad. And then this excuse just absolutely floored me. He then tried to say, oh, well, you know, chalk it up to whatever you want to. Blame it on the fact that English is my second language. Or what? Are you kidding me, son? Really? Really? That's what we're going to jump to? We're going to blame it on English being your second language? That's why you said what you said? That's why you said it the way you said it? At one... No, or excuse me, I'm losing it. Just trying to process it even still now. Just see, crap and excuses like that from people these days eats me up, man. It eats me up. It's such cocky disrespect and such a BS excuse, man. I never once struggled to understand one freaking word that you said in that entire video. You speak what some would call better English than me because I sound like a redneck. I'm from Spartanburg, South Carolina. I don't exactly sound like what most people would associate in a lot of ways with this accent with high intelligence and proper English. Most people hear people talk this way, and even some of the grammar that we use is like not proper grammar around here at all. Okay? So when people hear us talk, we don't tend to convey the most intelligent of people. Even though I'm not saying that I'm stupid. If I thought I was stupid and didn't know what I was talking about at all, I wouldn't make this YouTube channel. I don't like coming across as an arrogant prick who just thinks he's a know-it-all. I state my opinion and the facts that I have found, and I try to make these videos, and I'm trying to grow this channel. And I'm trying to point out where I think people are right and wrong on both sides of the political aisle and in other things that affect our everyday life. And other big topics that are going on in the media right now. Okay? You just happen to fall within that list, and you kind of really grind my gears, you know, with your whole attitude, and then you want to talk about it there in that way. So, but English as a second language. You know, I've heard people who have some pretty rough English because it's their second language. They sound a whole lot worse than you. Again, considering some people would hear your English and say, you speak better than me. English is my first language. I don't know another language. I can count to 10 in Spanish. That's about it. So English is my first language. A lot of people would hear you and say, you speak better English than me, yet you're going to use that as your reason for why you used a very, 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 very poor choice of words. That is such crap. Utter crap. Okay? Nonetheless, then we get into the whole joke issue where he made the remarks about Dan Crenshaw's eye. Now, for those of you who don't know, Dan Crenshaw lost his eye because of an IED when he was in the service. Okay? And if you didn't watch the other video and you hadn't watched any others, basically what Hasan Piker said was that a brave Mujahideen fighter, which he tries to claim is a reference to John Rambo 3 at the end of the movie. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, don't really care. If it was one of your little joke references, another very poor choice of words and another crappy joke. When you're talking about an American soldier, saying a brave Mujahideen fighter, a real brave soldier. Really? So again, very poor choice, pitiful joke, if that's what it was. I don't think it was, but if it was, it's horrible. And he tried to basically say that Mujahideen fighter had some fantasies with his eye socket. And that's how he lost his eye. And we made the video on that. Absolutely horrible, absolutely disgusting, and once again, I give Jank all the credit in the world for making those sentiments clear to him that was utterly, utterly, utterly offensive. And he then went in to say, yeah, it was a joke and this and that, but then here's the next one that really just burned me up with this guy. He then went in to say that just because you served does not mean you're entitled to respect. Says the little pretty boy who's never signed up to serve. I haven't served either. But I'm also not making that kind of a statement about veterans or active members of the military. Now, am I going to say that every single veteran and active member of the military are the salt of the earth? You'd never have any issues with them. You'd always get along with them? Absolutely not. I have met veterans who could be pricks. And I've met people that I thought the military would do a lot more to really shape them up, make them better people, and they came out still complete pricks. Didn't want to have a sense of responsibility, and a lot of other things. So there's people out there, but one thing you have to do, and Jank made sure to point this out, you have to give them respect for their service. They risked their life for the country. He suffered an injury that he'll never heal from, fighting for this country. I don't care if you agree with his policy. I don't care if you agree with him on politics or not. You have to give that man respect for his service. And if you don't, you are certainly not a patriotic American if you don't support the people who fight for your freedoms. They don't choose the wars they get put in. If you want to blame someone for the wars that we're in, that we may not have, should have ever been in to start with, that's the fault of the politicians. And if you want to disagree with him because he is a politician now and attack him from the political standpoint, that's 100% perfectly fine. But you don't attack his war injuries. You don't attack his veteran status. You don't say and give the impression he wasn't a brave fighter and that a Mujahideen fighter was. You don't do that. You just don't do that. And for him to just thought, well, I don't care what people think. Just because you were a veteran doesn't mean you're entitled to respect. Yes, it does. And anybody who doesn't give it to you is a sorry sack of crap. Period. Do I think that they should get their way on everything? I'm not saying that at all. Do I think they should lead and govern everything? No. They just simply deserve respect. And Jank pointed that out, made mention of John McCain, for example, who I mentioned in my video the other day. Didn't agree with him on policy, didn't agree with him on politics, but I gave him respect for what he did in the military and the fact he stayed in that camp when he was offered to go because he wouldn't leave his, brothers and sisters in the military. I don't even remember if there was any women in there or not. Probably wasn't. It was probably just all men. But you get my point. He wouldn't abandon his fellow troops just to get out of that camp. He stayed with them until they were all released. And And then he'd come up, yeah, well, I've had some pretty disagreements with you about how I spoke about John McCain, too. Disrespect, man. God. Disrespect. Horrible. And so, I mean, this guy to me is the epitome of everything I don't like about a lot of people nowadays who have just an utter smugness and such an entitled opinion and such an entitled view about themselves. I don't like it. I'm a very old school guy. I believe in being humble, not being a cocky prick. Not exactly, and people say, well, you voted for Trump. Who said I was a fan of that? Who said I was a fan of that? Now, I do think that some of the things he is speaking out on, the way he calls out other people in other countries, yeah, I am kind of a fan of that to a degree. I feel like it kind of needed to be done for a long time. Now, is it necessarily productive with some countries? Maybe not. But at the same time, almost every country he's had stern talks with or made some remarks about should have been made to him a long time ago, because there's been a whole lot of countries taking advantage of this one for a long time. But at the end of the day, this guy, I'll just leave it at this and sum it up with this. I 100% commend Cenk for doing what he did with the TYT network. And as I've said in previous videos, maybe some of you didn't believe me when I said it, but I said it. If anyone does the right thing or proves me wrong or this or that, I will make a video about it. Here it is. I bashed TYT pretty heavy the other day. TYT did the proper thing. They grilled Hasan, even though I feel like it really could have been done a lot more, really held his feet to the fire more. And I think that a big part of it comes from the fact that that's Cenk's nephew. You kind of got a family issue going on there, too. You can't just really take this guy to task, considering that's his nephew, unless he's going to risk having some serious family fallout from it. That's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong. Just my opinion. I really feel like when this guy's laughing and making sure, and Cenk did kind of crack down on him on that whole laughing. Yeah, I mean, but his whole demeanor, he just really didn't seem to take any of this serious at all. He then went on to do later interviews with Hasan Piker. He did one with like Fox 11 in Los Angeles, where he still wouldn't, quote, really apologize for what he said. He said on TYT he was wrong, but notice he never apologized. And then he was arguing Gianno Caldwell on Fox 11 in Los Angeles. They were going back and forth, and he still wouldn't apologize for that crap. He still wouldn't apologize for that crap. So, I mean, this dude isn't really sorry. He's doing what he's having to do to try to save his ass and save his job and to appease his uncle who's giving him a job, okay? And he's just playing the game he needs to play to go along to get along, man. But I don't think he's remorseful. I don't think he's remorseful, and I don't think he really cares. He's just got that smugness about him. So until I see something different from his part, I give Cenk complete credit. Sir, I thank you and I applaud you for holding his feet to the fire for some degree with your network. But in regard to the response that I heard, wasn't enough, wasn't impressed, and I really don't think you're sympathetic or sorry at all. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Independent Report. If you liked the video, please give us a thumbs up and leave a comment below. Also, please subscribe to the channel, as we're trying to grow this channel to reach more and more people every day. And if you subscribe, be sure that you ring that bell so that you stay up to date and get notifications when we release new content. Also, please support us in the link below with our Patreon. We're trying to make this channel grow. Funds will be used to grow the channel and to reach more people. We appreciate your support, and we hope you tune in next time.